Welcome, folks, back to Dominant Mets Nation. Well, folks, last night the Mets treated Miami like batting practice, folks, winning in a laugher, 19-9, a blowout. Tonight they gift wrap momentum to the Marlins and reminded us why a $350 million roster is flirting with being the most frustrating team in baseball. Mets fans, how do you blow someone out one day and then let the same team punk you 24 hours later? You tell me. Well, folks, I'm going to tell you why, because there are reasons this happened. Folks, it is 3:24 in the morning. I can't sleep. Do me a favor, please. This is actually, really tough for me. Hit the like button, subscribe. If you are new and never saw the channel, well, welcome aboard. If you like what you see, consider hitting the subscribe button. I thank everybody in advance. Okay, folks, you saw the title. Carlos Mendoza. Carlos Mendoza. Carlos Mendoza. I had a huge beef with him on game two. The game when we scored 19 runs going into the ninth inning. So we're rewinding to game two. Mets are up huge. I think it was 19-5 at the time. We are pummeling the team, right? And that's what I want to do. I want to demoralize the opponent. But what Carlos Mendoza does is he brings a position player in the ninth, Luis Torrens. The Marlins were dead in the water, folks. They were dead in the water. Suddenly, they get free hacks, line drives, home runs, and most importantly, they got confidence. Tonight, folks, that carried over. This wasn't random. It was predictable psychology. I mean, folks, most MLB greats will tell you baseball is more than 60% mental. More than 60% mental. That's why a team like the Mets can score almost 21 runs one game and then lose the next day. That's why on any given day, a bad team could beat a good team. It's, you got to focus, confidence. There's so many different factors, game planning. But the New York Mets, like I said, that was gift wrap, folks. And that was Carlos Mendoza being nice. That was Carlos Mendoza not wanting to put his foot on the pedal. That was a huge mistake. The killer instinct, folk, is missing. Mets honestly played with their food, and they saw what happened. They let the Marlins feel alive, and in baseball, belief is dangerous. Belief is dangerous. I listened to the Marlins broadcast in game two, and they kept saying if the Marlins can put a couple runs together, they have the type of bunch, the type of offense that once their confidence gets going, they perform much better. That's what the broadcast team saw all year, and that's what we saw in game three, folks. That is what we saw. And you know what? How stupid was it in game two in the ninth inning? Carlos Mendoza was in a bind. They literally scored 4 or 5 runs, multiple home runs in the ninth inning, and you wanted Torrens to go in there. And the funny thing is, the broadcast from the Marlins suggested that in the 8th inning, Carlos Mendoza is up by so much runs. He doesn't need to waste a pitcher. He should put a position player in it. And I was like, that is the stupidest thing in the world. Why would we let your team get runs, make the game closer, and possibly have to waste a pitcher anyway? That is stupid. But that's exactly what Carlos Mendoza ended up doing. Ryan Stanek went out there, and I'm just telling you, I was just so upset. Let me know what you thought about that, because I think that carried over today. All right. So again, beyond that, the core frustration is, these pitchers, folks. David Peterson went out there, and you could see, I got it right here from Carlos Mendoza. What was wrong with David Peterson? His exact line is he didn't have it. Why didn't he have it? Why wasn't David Peterson prepared? He was on normal rest. In fact, he might have been on extra rest, but he was on at least normal rest. Why wasn't the focus there? Why was the focus not there? I mean, honestly, he had a ball hit right back up to him. He could have got a double play. He boots the ball. Boots the ball. That is focus there, folks. That is focus. Why did he not come to play today? What is going on with the preparation between games? This is, like I said, pedal to the metal, folks. This is pedal to the metal time. Sense of urgency is not there. And, I know the Reds lost. So, I feel like the Mets are a team that just needs that boost. They need to be pushed. And it shouldn't be for a team that aspires to be World Series champions. It almost feels like, the Yankees 20, 25 years ago used to coast and they knew they can turn it on playoff time. The Mets aren't that good. I mean, last year we're lucky enough to turn it on at the right time. But do I have confidence that this is going to be that one team that turns it on and fly through the playoffs? No, you have to build this up. There are steps. And it all starts from the top. All right, killer instinct lacking. Usually Mendoza's too cautious with arms, but, he's gotten over that. He's been too deferential to veterans, in my opinion. And, that is going to come back to bite you in so many different ways. And honestly, this is what I don't like either. Too willing to tip the cap to the opponents instead of stepping on throats. Team doesn't need Mr. Rogers, folks. Team does not need Mr. Rogers. Game 2, perfect example. Oh, we're up by 14, 15 runs. Don't bring in Ryan Stanek. Luis Torrens, he can do it. I mean, honestly, that's a perfect example of you needing to step on the throats. It almost feels like Mendoza feels like a substitute teacher who doesn't want the class to hate him. You got everybody taking pictures in the dugout. I don't mind when we're winning, but you got them doing all these shenanigans when we're losing. And you even saw before the game that Sherman was having a staring contest with the other pitcher from the Marlins. What the hell is that? Get in the damn dugout and focus on the team. I don't understand this. I just don't understand this. If this team has won something, maybe, just maybe, okay, whatever works for them. But no, we are way too inconsistent for these shenanigans. This is not grade school, folks. This is not. This is New York baseball, and we are in the middle of a pennant race. You had a whole full stadium of screaming fans who wanted to see a victory. And I know the Mets came back. I know, okay, the Mets went out to a 5-0 deficit, then a 2, then they battled back. Huge game from Juan Soto. Juan Soto starting to swing the bat. I notated 2 games ago, he started swinging the bat much more aggressively, and we are starting to see the benefits. You wasted that, folks. You wasted that effort. Tyler Rogers couldn't hold it in the 7th. He let up a run. And then in the 9th inning, it was desperation mode. And by that late, it was a little too late. The Mets, they have 30 runs in the last 3 games against a mediocre offense and not a great team, and they have 1 win. Folks, not good, not good. Bigger picture, folks. Bigger picture matters. All right, so coming off that blowout win, tonight's game was the definition of a must-have momentum game. We needed to build momentum. David Peterson on the hill, okay, you take him out, you fight from behind. The Mets needed to find a way to win. Instead, Mets handed the Marlins even more confidence and more headlines. I was listening again to the Marlins broadcast. In the first inning, again, they're making fun of us. Peterson can't make the double play. Nimmo lets a ball go over his head. I mean, honestly, this is the Marlins. This is not the Brewers. This is not a better team. This is not a better opponent. This is not the playoffs. We have to start competing like we are a championship team. We have to stack wins, build fear, and never let a bad team breathe. That's what we need to do. This Mets team hasn't learned psychology yet. The game is mental. I'm telling you, the game is mental. The game is mental. It's just one loss, folks. It is just one loss, or is it further proof that the Mets don't have that championship DNA? Be honest. Let me know down in the comments. How do you feel? How do you feel? Do you trust this team when the lights are at its brightest? Let me know down in the comments. And if you haven't got a chance to like the video, subscribe. Again, now it's 3:34 in the morning. Again, I got a vent, and I'm hoping you all by now have felt a little better. But again, it's my time, and it just feels like some of these things just feel so damn obvious, and I just don't understand. Okay, so let's wrap up the fan therapy and call it for what it is, a managerial blunder with lasting consequences. Mets can't afford to let momentum swing games in August if they want to play in October. Mets can't let momentum swing games in August if they want to play in October. It's just plain and simple. Fans expected a $350 million wrecking crew. Let's remember that. Let's remember that. Right now, it feels like, it's just, part time and, we're not getting that consistent performance. I think until Mendoza starts to learn and starts to manage with killer instincts, the Mets will keep playing checkers instead of chess. And tonight, the Marlins stole the board. Plain and simple. This is a game, another game that the Mets should have won. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, folks, again, let me know what you think. And again, what do you think? Is Mendoza the right guy? I mean, I'm just, I'm just so damn frustrated. And then even in the post game show, they asked him, they asked him, hey, you're being carried by just two rookie pitchers. What do you make about the veterans not going further along in games, and also like tonight getting just pummeled? What do you make about them? And then he just continues to say, I have confidence. They have the talent. They have the stuff. They're doing a great job. They're not doing a great job. They are not doing a great job. I don't get it. Is he watching what we're watching, or does he take us for fools? Does he take us for fools? Today, Peterson didn't do a great job. Yesterday, Holmes didn't do good enough. Did not do good enough. You can't throw a million pitchers, and you can't have the bullpen work extra hard over and over and over. And then in the beginning of the week, Sanga only pitching 4 2/3 inning, having to bail him out. Mania as well. I'm sorry, Mania was 4 2/3 inning. He didn't get the job done as well. Looked good early on, but still, you still have that length issue. Kodai Senga, the game before that, he had his issues as well. So the veterans aren't doing the job. They are not doing the job. So you are blatantly, BSing the audience or thinking that we don't know baseball. We don't know baseball. And what we do know, and every other successful team will tell you, if you continually have to have the bullpen pitch 5+, 4+ innings a night, it will not end well. It will not end well. That is just plain and simple. And again, Carlos Mendoza does not want to point the finger. He says, I'm not going to point the finger. Well, where is the blame going to go if you don't point the finger? It's going to go up to leadership. And who is the leader of the team? That is you. That is you. And again, I'm not saying anything about the offense. The offense is coming through. But again, you're playing as Carlos Mendoza says, the other team is professional too. And again, stop giving so much credit to the other team. You're supposed to be a superior opponent to the other team. Stop giving them credit, all right? I mean, honestly, this is not after a playoff series where I got to hear how good the series was and how good the other team is and the season's over. No, this is in the midst of a competitive season. Stop doing that. I just don't understand that. And that's why I'm like, this guy is too nice. This guy's too damn nice. You don't got to criticize them. You don't got to put bulletin board material up there. But again, let's start. I guess let's start putting pedal to the metal, and let's start having that killer instinct. Let's do it. Let's do it. So a couple more points. A couple more points. So here are some steps I came up with. You got to strike with urgency. You really can't be patient at this point. It's not middle of August. It's not beginning of August. It's not July. You can't be too patient anymore. You have to seize every moment. You can't waste games. Championships don't wait for momentum. They force it, folks. They force it. Tomorrow, we're going to have to force it because of bad play, sloppy play. We're going to have to force it. Now, another thing, we have to work on our preparation. Way too many errors, way too many mental mistakes. And again, that's leadership. How are these guys preparing? Not working out. So that gets to my second point, demanding accountability. Demanding accountability. No excuses. We fix it. Brandon Nimmo, you can't continue to make sloppy plays in left field. You can't. The other day, not picking up a ball. Today, letting a line drive go over your head. And I've seen a couple other misplays by Brandon Nimmo. Pete Alonso not getting in front of the ball the other day. Peterson not fielding a ground ball. Lindor not using two hands. It's just way too much. 5 earned runs on Thursday. 3 on Friday. I mean, it's like a video game. This is like a video game. We need leaders who call out underperformance and can energize the veterans and rookies alike. That's what we need too. It's not all on Mendoza. Mendoza has to inspire leaders on the team. And those leaders on the team has to inspire everybody else. It's a chain of command, but again, that doesn't happen unless you foster accountability. Okay, and then last but not least, I have let confidence fuel competitiveness. Instead of no heroes expected, say be the hero, step up when it matters. That's why I like Juan Soto. Today, biggest moment. We were down 8-6 and coming back from a whole slew of runs, and he hit that 2-run homer. That was probably his biggest homer of the year, folks. And that is the game. After coming back from so much, we got momentum back. We had to take advantage and we had to win at that point. And again, we just let it slip through our fingers. And again, the Mets, they have the talent. They just need the spark. They really need the spark. So, folks, again, let me know what you think. I think I covered basically all my notes. I wanted to keep it pretty short and sweet today. Again, let me just say, Mark Vientos, he's continuing to really come on in a big way. Mark, Swaggy V, 3-run homer. Lindor is continuing the hit barrage, another homer today. Just got to be a little more focused on defense. McNeil, the 7th inning, that was the point where, hey, killer instinct. 7th inning, McNeil starts the inning off triple, third base, no outs. And then you don't push him across. You can't get that 1 run across. And that's what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. And that was an inning after Juan Soto hit the 2-run bomb. So you would have thought that this team would have came out like a house of fire in the 7th inning. And then, Diaz, it's really hard for me to get on Diaz. But then again, it comes to preparation. He didn't look sharp today, folks. He did not look sharp. He didn't have control. Walked a guy. Couple hits allowed. Did not look sharp. What is going on with that? So, folks, let me know again. Comments, concerns. I want to see a World Series team. I'm feeling good 3 days ago, sweeping the Phillies. Yesterday, I'm feeling good. Huge blowout. Okay, take the series, take 3 out of 4. Now we're just looking for a split. And, I see a lot of us, being so impressed by the offense. And the offense has been impressive, but we just have to look at what we're fighting for. And maybe the fact that the Reds haven't been winning, and that gives us so much more leeway. I don't want that. I want the pressure on because we have to get used to playing with high pressure situations and with pressure. Last year, we had to win a bunch of games to get in there, and I think it prepared us well. Now, I want to see the Reds do a little better because I want to see the Mets have some pressure. I don't want to just backdoor ourselves in there with 82, 83 wins. I was hoping still to get close to 90 wins. It seems like right now the Mets are complacent with getting 82, 83 wins, backdooring themselves in the playoffs. Then all of a sudden the lights are on. Are you going to be ready? I mean, the only thing that the Mets have right now that is just super, fantastic. They have Nolan McLean. I mean, you put him, hopefully we get past the wild card series, but even in a short series, you got this just dominating guy. I mean, so that's going to be tough for any team to deal with. And then Jonah Tong, and then the Mets are probably like, okay, we'll figure out a game 3 if it gets there. But we have 2 good pitchers, and probably they were figuring Peterson would be one of those 2 guys. I mean, I figured that the rotation was going to be, and then I guess hopefully they were hoping Senga got hot, but McLean, it just seemed like he would have to start in that wild card series. And then you would figure that Peterson would be another starter, and then that third starter would be who the hottest is. Is it going to be Tong? Is it going to be Sanga? Does he get hot? And we would have to figure it out from there. But McLean just gives you that big wild card weapon, and if you get to a 7-game series, him pitching 2 games, that's always that's a big advantage. That is a big advantage. So, folks, again, I keep ending this video and then continuing to go on. That's what I do. So, just let me know. Very, very frustrating. Very, very, very frustrating. But And then also too another game where we were trailing after 8, trying to win the game, and another game trailing after 8 and couldn't win. Couldn't win. I was like, all right, you know what? 9-8. Come on, let's have a big victory. But no. Damn. Okay. All right, folks. Again, let's go Mets. We're still in perfect just because of the Reds not being able to beat the Cardinals, not being able to beat the Dodgers. We're still in a perfect position to make the playoffs in wild card. I believe we're still 5 games up, but again, I demand more. The division race kind of looks like, I don't want to say slipping away, but it's going to be very, very difficult. I mean, hopefully, I think it's within 6 right now. 4, yeah. So it should be within 6. Hopefully the Phillies lose, the Atlanta does something right, and then the Mets win, get it down to 5. I don't know. I'm not feeling as confident about that, but I'm still not giving up on the division. Still not giving up. Especially since we do have that 4-game set. But now, you're gonna have to look to sweep that set if we don't close the gap. I was hoping to get the gap down to 3 games. I mean, when we left Philly, or when Philly left Citi Field, it was a 4-game deficit. I'm like, okay, we got a couple, series, get it down to 3 games, maybe 2, and then we have the 4-game series. But now the lead's going to go up to 6, 7, 8. I just don't even want to think about that. But okay, now I'm going to end the video. Let's go Mets, folks. Again, before you go, like the video. It really helps out the channel. It really does, folks. It really does. Your comments help out. You're sharing the video. That helps out. I'm just so frustrated. It's like almost 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like thinking, how the heck am I gonna put my head on the pillow and go to bed? And this is what happens. I don't know if this happens to you, but when the Mets lose, it is so hard to go to bed because all I think about is how we screwed up. How we screwed up. I wish I was a little more positive as a Mets fan, have a little more positive outlook. But again, like I think that you have to have such a strong mentality if you're going to want to be that last team standing. And right now we're not having that shrewd approach, and that is very alarming to me. All right, folks, I will talk to you very soon. This time I'm leaving. Have a good night, day, whenever you're watching this.